Hi guys, welcome back to my channel ArtsyPutsy with MAYBELLINE, and for today's video it's going to be another foundation review slash first impression slash wear test, and it's going to be this foundation. This is the Maybelline 24-hour Superstay full coverage foundation, and if you want to know my thoughts about this foundation and also how the foundation wears throughout the day, then just keep on watching. I've been dying to try this foundation out, but I really want to test them out in front of you guys in camera. So this is the Maybelline Superstay 24-hour full coverage foundation. I've heard a lot of people rave about this foundation, but I also heard people like hate this foundation. If someone loves this foundation, they were like really love and obsessed with this foundation. Soft Dust Nails really love this foundation. It's her holy grail products, and she has an oily skin like me. By the way, I have a very oily and sensitive and acne prone skin. As you can see, I have a lot of deep, large pitted acne scars, so I have a lot of textures as well. But I also heard some people with dry skin love this foundation, but I also heard someone with dry skin hates this foundation, like the Thyla. She has a dry skin now because she was on Accutane, and she hates this. I mean, I don't know if she hates this foundation, but she dislikes this foundation. But I also have seen someone with oily skin hate this. So it's like no middle ground here. I'm just curious to see what ground I'm at. But I hope I like this. And Nikki Tutorial did a review on this foundation, and she said this is like a dupe for the Huda Beauty foundation. I don't have that foundation, so I cannot say anything about that or compare this to that foundation. But if you want to see her review, which I'm sure you already has, I'm going to link Soft Dust Nail, Thyla, and Nikki Tutorial's review of this foundation down in the description box. I'm just going to read out some of the claims of these products on their website, and also on the back here. It's a full coverage foundation, up to 24-hour wear, but I'm not going to test this foundation for 24 hours because, let's be honest, let's be real here, I don't think anyone wear foundation for 24 hours, maybe some, but not for everyday basis. And it has a seamless matte finish, breathable and comfortable, fade and transfer resistant, which is amazing. We'll see about that. And it's for concentrated coverage and a flawless finish that doesn't fade or shift all day. That's a huge claim, but we're going to see if that's true. Lightweight yet high impact coverage formula glides onto the skin for a flawless makeup finish. Lasts all day, oil free, doesn't clog pores. Dermatologists tested. In the US version, they have 16 shades. I mean, that's not a very good shade range for a foundation, but it's not too bad as well, because some of other foundation from the drugstore only has like 3 to 5 shades, like Catrice or Physicians Formula. They don't have a lot of shade range, so 16 is like an okay amount, I think. But of course, I prefer them to have like 30 at least. And I'm in the shade 128 Warm Nude. In Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless foundation, I'm in 220 Natural Beige. That's like my perfect shade. But I've heard people say that this kind of oxidized or kind of set down a little bit darker, just like the Fenty Beauty foundation or the Urban Decay. I heard the All Nighter foundation, they set to a more darker shades, like 1 or 2 darker, because it's a super matte foundation. They tend to do that. So I pick up the shade Warm Nude because I've heard people who usually wears 220 Natural Beige use this shade in this foundation, so which is why I picked this one up. By the way, this is really hot today in here, in my room specifically, so we're going to test this foundation like hardcore in a very humid and hot condition. So I'm going to use this foundation with this primer because I always put on primer, so I'm not going to test it out half with primer, half not with primer, or maybe should I? But I'm going to use this. This is the Monisa Chafing Relief Powder Gel. This is a silicone based primer, and I've seen the ingredients on the back here of this foundation, and The first ingredient here is the cyclopentasiloxane, and then water, and then another silicylic sand thing. I cannot pronounce that word, so I'm not gonna even pretend that I can. And then the methicone. So yeah, if the foundation has siloxane and dimethicone on the top of their list, it means that the foundation is a silicone-based, and a silicone-based foundation works best with silicone-based primer, and water-based foundation works best with a water-based primer, which is why I'm going to test this foundation with this primer. Just like always on my foundation review, I'm going to apply them half of my face with a damp beauty blender, which I need to damp this first because it's still dry, I forgot. And then the left side of my face, I'm going to test this with this brush. This is the e.l.f. I don't know the name of this brush on top of my head right now, but I'm going to have the name here. This is from e.l.f. So I changed the lens so you can see better and closer with this lens. I have nothing on my face here, not even a face moisturizer or anything. I'm just going to apply some primer first. Oh, I keep doing this and it just won't open, and then I should have just pulled out the cap, and I already broke this. Like, what is that? Silly me. By the way, the bottle looks like this, and it has a very similar packaging to the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless foundation, except the cap here is white. It's gonna get dirty real fast, but I quite like how this looks though. I mean, I love the white and the pink and the color of the foundation. I quite like this. And then the best part of this foundation is Maybelline really listened to their customer, because this foundation finally has a pump. I think I'm going to have a full pump first, which think about. Oh yeah, there you go. I'm just gonna stamp this on my face. So right off the bat, I can tell that this foundation is not full coverage, at least on me. I think it's like a very high medium coverage, at least on me, because as you can see, I can really test out the coverage of foundation because I have a lot of red and dark pigmentation and a lot of acne scars, and I can tell that it doesn't fully cover the redness, and you can see here it's still like my acne scar still peeking through, but it really has a good coverage, at least compared to this side of my face. You can see the difference there, and I think the color matches my neck pretty well. So I'm just going to apply some more, just a little bit more, maybe this much. Oh, you can see that, and apply some more to the area that I need more coverage. So yeah, I do think this foundation is somewhat buildable, but not too much. I think you can get away with 2 layers of this foundation, and based on first application, I quite like the finish. But on my dry patches, like around my nose, I recently had acne here, and I always put a spot treatment, the drying lotion from Mario Badescu every single night. So it's a little bit dry at the moment, and I can see that the foundation clinging on to some area a little bit, like around my nose and around here, because it's currently very dry around there. So I'm just going to apply that much with this brush. So right off the bat, I can tell that with the brush I can get a little bit more fuller coverage, it has a better coverage, and the finish of the foundation on both sides looks pretty similar. I think I prefer this foundation with the brush though. I think foundation will look better with a brush first to get the fuller coverage, and then blend them out a little bit more with the beauty blender so it will have a more softer finish. But with this foundation, I think you can get away with just the brush. It doesn't feel heavy at all. I almost feel like I have nothing on my face now. I can feel a foundation just a little bit, but not too heavy. And for the coverage that it has, I think that's pretty good. It's really matte, but not fully matte, because I can still see like light bouncing off my face on some area. From the viewfinder, my face looks a little bit smoother and flawless, for as flawless as I can go, because I have a lot of acne scars and textures and all that, but it doesn't emphasize the textures and the acne scars on my face, which is always a good thing, because with some foundation I can see that it just accentuates those areas, and I can see the acne scars look a little bit deeper than before applying foundation. Around here, the acne scars on my face is really deep, and this foundation doesn't make those areas look worse or bad. It doesn't clinging on to the scars weirdly, and the shade I think matched me really well. So if you usually wear 220 Natural Beige, use this one instead, and it does gets a little bit darker when it's set. The foundation initially looked a little bit lighter on my hand, but now, I don't know if you can tell, but now it looks a little bit darker, but not too much. So yeah, I'm going to finish up the rest of my face and I'm going to be back. By the way, it's 11:56 now, so I'm back. I already finished up the rest of my makeup, and it's almost 2 now. And so my foundation has been on for a few hours and it's still going strong. It looks really nice, but I can already see my face getting a little bit oily on this area right here. I don't know if you can tell, but we'll see how this wears throughout the day. By the way, if you want to see how I created this look, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button, the bell button, because I'm going to post this look after this video. Like, this is a full face of first impression, so if you want to see that, wait for it. I'm going to be back in a couple of hours to give you an update, but for now I like this, so yeah, we'll see. I don't know what that is, but I'm going to be back. Hi guys, I'm back and it's time for the updates. And yeah, now it's currently 19:23, so it's a little bit past 7, and it's been on my face since 11:48. I think that's the first time I applied the foundation, so 12, so it's like around 7.5 hours. As you can see, I look really oily, but before I talk about how I look, I'm going to talk about how I feel first. And for 8 hours, with the coverage that it has, it still feels not completely lightweight. I mean, I can still feel that I have makeup on my face, but it's not heavy at all, because sometimes there's some certain foundation that after 7 hours or 6 hours you can kind of feel like heavy and you just want to take the makeup off, but it's not doing that at all. It still feels really comfortable on my skin. I forgot to show you like how it looks on natural light. I usually do that. I usually insert a clip of me or pictures of me in natural lights, but I forgot. It has a nice finish. It's not a drying matte at all. I don't see my skin looks very dry in this foundation, even though it is a really matte foundation. If you have dry skin, I don't think you will absolutely like this, because it does cling onto some dry area and it can look a little bit patchy on those area. I forgot to mention this after I applied my full face of makeup on. I set my face with powder and then I applied bronzer, blush, highlights, contour and all of that. It looks like it's easier to blend, like it looks very pigmented, it shows up really well, and it's not blending up in a weird way. That means product can blend nicely on top of the foundation. I think it holds up really well. For what it's worth, when I look really closely in the mirror, I mean, I look super duper oily. You can see it almost looks like wet. My skin looks like wet, but the foundation itself still on my face, like it's not separating at all, because some foundation looks really oily on me, and then it kind of makes these weird patches on my skin and kind of separate it after 6 hours of wear. But it's been almost 8 hours and the foundation itself still looks really intact. I mean, especially around my forehead area, it still looks really good. Not even on my chin, where it looks a little bit dry. Now it looks way better than I first applied them. It blends with the skin even better because of the oiliness on my skin makes the area a little bit less dry and a little bit less patchy. And I do think it's long wearing, especially if you don't have a very oily skin. I think you will love this because the product that I put on top of this foundation still looks like still going strong. I think it worn off really nicely. At the same time, it might be because I have a very oily skin. Whatever the foundation is, like the L'Oreal Pro Matte for example, that's a really good mattifying foundation. I still look really oily with that foundation after 5 or 6 hours mark. This one looks a little bit more oilier but still pretty intact on my skin. But maybe just a little bit on my nose area here, it started to look like disappear a little bit. It's kind of disappearing nicely. And also I live in a tropical country. The weather here is very hot, and not just hot, I mean sometimes it's not that hot, but it's a very humid country. So I don't know, for me personally, for my skin condition, for my skin type, and also for how the humidity and the condition where I live, I just think this foundation holds pretty nicely. And the best part I think for me, for my skin condition, is this foundation doesn't make my skin looks worse because it's not really accentuate the textures on my face. I mean, you can still see I have a lot of textures and acne scars, but that's just because I do have scars, large acne scars and a lot of textures. But some foundation makes the scars and the textures worse than it actually is, like it just accentuate them in a bad way. But this foundation kind of lay nicely on top of the textures and the scars, and it's not making a weird patches on my scars area, which is a great thing. I also think this foundation is somewhat transfer proof because, like, I mean, it's kind of gone a little bit around here because it was itchy, so I kind of scratched them. But on the rest of my face, I was sleeping for like an hour, and then I put my head on my hand like this, and it's still there. I'm going to blot a little bit, and I'm going to do a little bit of touch up, so you'll see how this looks with a little bit more powder. And the powder I use here is the Rimmel Stay Matte Press Powder. You can definitely see the difference here. It's a really mattifying and kind of like makes your skin look smoother. So if you have very oily skin, I think you need powders like this. It's definitely take away the oiliness like a lot. So this is what my skin looks like after I put on some more powder. As you can see, it's not completely matte again. You can still see like the shine peeking through, but completely like not wet like before. It kind of makes it looks like I have this foundation for 4 hours at least, not 8 hours. And I mean, you can see the highlight, the bronzer, the blush very heavy. I might add, that's a little bit crazy for me. And yeah, it's still there, like still there. And also, lastly, this foundation doesn't really sink into fine lines. I don't see this foundation have any major creasing on my face. I mean, not even on my under eye area. Maybe that's also because of the concealer, but it's not creasing anywhere. Like, so if you have problems with foundation sinks into fine lines or your smile lines or just creasing anywhere, maybe your forehead, I think this foundation will be good for you. It's 1944 and I put this on at 11:48, I think. So it's been completely 8 hours, and for 8 hours I will give this foundation an A or A minus or B plus. Yeah, I like this. It's not like a completely an A plus for me, but I have to try this out for at least 3 or 4 times more to really love this foundation. But for first impression, I think to get an A or A minus is a really good start. Also, this foundation doesn't oxidize at all. I mean, when I first apply them, I can see that it's a little bit too light for my skin, and then as it sets down, I feel like it matches my skin really nicely. But throughout the day, I don't see it's getting a lot darker than it was. I feel like it still looks like when I first applied them, no? If you're close to my skin tone, if you use 220 Natural Beige in the Fit Me line, then definitely try the Warm Nude instead. It fits my skin really nicely. I think it does give me a little bit of flashbacks. It's not the worst flashback ever, but it does make me look a little bit like too white for the rest of my body. So, but I don't like flashback, never really my major issues in a foundation because I rarely take a picture in a flash photography anyway. So yeah, that's it, the review and the first impression, my thoughts of this foundation, the Maybelline the Maybelline Superstay 24-hour full coverage foundation. If you want me to try out some other foundation, definitely let me know. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it's somewhat entertaining. I don't think it's entertaining at all, but maybe it is. And also, I hope you find this video somewhat helpful, and if you do, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and maybe subscribe to my channel. And thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye. Yeah. Yes. What is that? Stop, just broke. This looks really similar. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my subscribe and thumbs up. I got them wrong. Let's begin again.